coming in loud.
Coming in loud, 156, episode 156 of the Real Life Caddie podcast.
Cranking them out.
How are you, Mike?
I'm doing well. I'm ready to take a little break here pretty soon. So, yeah.
Just off the course.
We're both fresh off some bench loops.
Bench loops.
Yeah.
Hey, hats off to MUFG. Hooking the boys up with lunch.
Caddy lunch. That's I didn't have the MUFGers today. I may have them tomorrow at the week course. So I'm hoping to get my fucking lunch myself.
What we got today?
Well, we're gonna do something a little different today. We're not really gonna do Caddie Stories per se, but we talked about doing this episode, and it's interesting jobs. Different ways to make money. People we've caddied for that have made small fortunes in their line of works, or just livings in their lines of work, which you wouldn't expect to have.
Oh,
all different ways to make money.
Okay.
Did you just
I
get
did
one?
something slightly different.
Oh, what?
I went for famous people.
Oh. Well, so we're on two different episodes we're doing.
Brilliant. Well, I'll tell you what, this is going to be fun.
I'll do my weird loops, and you can do the famous people we've caddied for.
Love it. I think it was famous with something I learned that was interesting.
Gotcha. Well, famous people make their money in weird ways too.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, we were right on it.
We were taking big notes on all this episode, and I'm like, I thought we had this all dialed in where we were going to talk about like different ways to make money and different people's. But a couple of the people I'm going to talk about are very famous. So yeah, that goes hand in hand.
Okay.
I wouldn't say very famous, but famous enough people would know them.
I guess it's my fault. You listen to the podcast. I don't.
We've talked about doing this episode, our last two episodes.
We did talk about it, and
I thought that was the whole principle of this episode. I need to look
Correct.
back on our text messages, but this will make an interesting episode. Maybe we can do a little both. This time I'll do weird jobs, and next time I'll do all the famous people.
Okay, love it. Right,
and then you can do your famous people, and then vice versa. You know how it works.
I'll tell you the first one I have in here.
Here we go.
Is I once caddied for a guy called Andrew Anthony. Any idea who he is?
Andrew Anthony.
From Canada.
Hockey player?
No. Have you ever play video games growing up? Call of Duty, FIFA?
Yeah.
EA Sports. It's
in the game. He's the guy who said it's in the game?
That was him.
So is that all he did was just...
That's all he did.
Yeah. Smoked a lot of weed, and I just said, it's in the game. Did he make a lot of money off saying it's in the game? That's an interesting way to make money.
He made a lot of money, and he never really had to redo it. They just kept on reusing it.
One take, and he was done. That was his whole career.
That was it.
That made his
career. A fortune off of it.
It's in the game. Yeah, that was very iconic. It's in the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Michael Buffer. Let's get ready to rumble and all. Yeah,
that's it. So
wow.
And it's a little bit like the guy from Fresh Prince. Do the dance.
The Carlton dance.
Yeah.
Once you're known for that is your stick, and you never really can get past that. But if nobody's seen his face, maybe you could try to do voice.
Because I remember him telling us in the 14th green. So he left it a few hours before, and he had a couple of cocktails, and all of a sudden he brings that one out.
Well, did he do it for you? Did he go?
Of course he did.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, that's his stick. Yeah,
because then everyone around him starts doing it.
It's in the game.
So he actually killed it, because everyone will go, oh, he does a really good one. No, he doesn't. This guy did it.
He was the guy. He was the guy who did it. He has the real one.
What you got then? What have you got in yours?
Well, I'm going to go the other way, and just interesting ways to make money. And you always see this. You see it in the news. You go out and you buy the tickets when the jackpots get real high.
Aye.
And a handful of years ago, I was caddying for this guy, and as we do, asking, "What do you do for a living?" He's like, "Well, I kind of retired," and I'm like, you're like 35, 40 years old, bro. You're a little young to be retired. I'm like, so what did you do? Well, he's like, well, and his wife was there. He's like, well, and I'm like, here we go. I mean, they're in the drug trade or something. And he's like, well, I hit the lottery. And I was like, wow. And I was like, I mean, I don't want to pry, but he's like, well, you could look it up. And it was a 9-figure sum. Like after taxes, they took home 9 figures, over $100 million. That'll get you to retire. Nice, super nice guy, like down to earth, and he seemed like a pretty bright guy. He wasn't out there blowing it on guns and knives and drugs like a lot of the guys do. They blow through it real quick, and he seemed like he had a level head about him, and he's a super nice guy, and paid pretty well. Gave me a little chunk of that $100 million.
Now, quick question: if you won 100 million,
Uh-huh.
would you keep caddying?
I doubt it. I doubt it. I might. You know, we always talk, maybe not you and I, but I've always talked about with different people, like, if that was the case, if I got like a lump sum from whatever, you know, got money to retire, I would probably keep caddying until you got like the biggest douchebag you ever had in your life, and then do something like just epic. If you're gonna go out with a bang. You wait till you're at like the big course on number 8 by the cliff, and you know you step up to the edge, take out every one of his clubs, huck him over the cliff, throw the bag over, and say, "I'm out. I'm done." I might do something like that.
You might not even get sacked here.
That's a good point. They call you in the office. You know, he wasn't very happy about it, but you know, maybe you shouldn't do that next time.
Yeah, he said, she said.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
that's funny. But I might do something.
Okay,
like
lottery
that.
winner. Next one I have.
Okay.
I once caddied for one of the guys who was on the team who invented, produced, however you want to call it, the screw-in teeth.
The screw.
So,
oh wow.
Yeah.
So like dental implants. The guy who invented that.
I think he did a semester in Scotland or Ireland, and they went to the local caddy barn.
They looked at the dental work in the local caddies and said,
they went. So before it would be dentures, then they came up with the concept of boring into the jaw, sticking piece of metal, probably titanium.
Yeah,
and you would then screw the teeth in, and literally you could have it done in a day, and you'd have a full set of teeth. So that was what he had made or been famous for.
Yeah.
Well, not famous, but that's what he'd done.
Good shtick.
So I guess this is kind of along the same lines of what we discussed.
It is kind of along the same lines of what we discussed.
I don't have his name, but
yeah, a lot of these people I don't remember names. I don't remember the name of this next guy I caddied for. He was again, you know, you're going along. What do you do for work? He's like, well, actually, you know, I fight fires. I'm like, well, what do you mean? I was like, you're a firefighter. He's like, well, I am a firefighter, but I do wildfires. So I'm called in for wildfires exclusively. And some of these guys, they make so much money. They are on the front lines of these wildfires. They are in the thick of things, and they get called in specifically for these wildfires all over the state, really. And he said, you know, he will travel up to like Washington and Oregon and other places like that, but he got called in from place to place for like, they got called in until the fire's out. So, you know, if it's 100,000 acre fire, he could be there for a month or so. And then they get paid ridiculous sums while they're doing this. And then they all have like a month off. And he's like, I just go play golf and hang out. I'm like, that's a hell of a way to live your life. It's risky, super risky, but yeah, that's how he made it, how he makes his money. I'm like, that's pretty nuts, bro.
Next one I have on my list, Mike, David Ledbetter.
You caddied for David Ledbetter?
I caddied for David Ledbetter. My older brother caddied for a photographer for Golf World, I believe. I'd heard of Ledbetter because he was with, probably most famously, Faldo in the 90s. He was the kind of guy to go to, wasn't he?
He was the guy, and it's funny you mentioned his name because where I moved from in Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida, he has the David Ledbetter Golf Academy there. Very, very popular. And that's what these guys do, like Butch Harmon.
Yeah.
You teach Tiger for a few years. You teach one of the greats for a few years, build a rep, and then you charge whatever you want, open a camp. And I'm curious where this is going because I kind of know David Ledbetter, not super like well, but I've been around him and curious to see what you say about that loop in his golf game because he's not that great at the game.
So I would be very young. I'd be about 14 or 15. And my brother was 16 or 17. He didn't drive. Because I'll tell you what happened at the end of the round. It was late on a Saturday. We teed off late, just the two of them. I'll never forget my brother having to carry around an extra camera. I'm talking paparazzi, right? The kind of stuff they used to chase Princess Diana with, you with a big scope. So he's carrying the bag and carrying a camera, and the player is swinging a club, then running around taking photos. And I'm stuck with David Ledbetter, who is so technical with his own game, and he's talking to me about what he's trying to do. I have zero interest today.
I don't care.
I had never had any interest back then. Yeah. I didn't understand anything he said. And he was very angry for someone that I thought was probably about an 8 or 9 handicap.
Exactly. That's about him. Yeah.
We get finished, and they don't have any money.
Here we go.
They couldn't pay us, and the pro shop was closed. And they said, "So where do you live?" And we're like, "Well,
This was back before iPhones or Apple Pay or Venmo.
So he's like, here, pile in, we're heading to Ayr. Well, so we actually drove into our town, and there was a cash machine in the high street in Maybole at the Royal Bank of Scotland there. Mm-hmm. They get out, they pulled money out, right? They paid us, they jumped in the car and off they went.
That's perfect. Yeah, don't leave their side until you get that money in the pocket.
I thought he was a bit of a twat, to be honest.
Yeah,
so,
I'm with you there.
And then but like you say, they teach someone well known for 2-3 years. Then they set up an academy, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry with a 28 handicap turns up thinking they're going to turn into a scratch golfer.
Ridiculous.
But I still tune out when people talk about golf in a technical fashion.
Yeah. And gee.
Everything was just so mechanical, and it took us forever because he would take 7-8 practice swings. He'd take it back. He's looking at his wrists. He's looking at it up at the top. And, and then to shoot 92, no good.
Yeah, that's the worst too. When you get the guys who said, I just came back from the Dave Pills short game school." Like, here we go. You're a hack. Jeez. Actually, I didn't even write this one down, but now that we're talking about more famous people, this one was pretty nuts early on in my caddy career out here. It was a corporate event. I may have briefly spoken about this years ago on the podcast, but it was a corporate event. So they hire entertainers and stuff to come out, put on a show, whatever. And so they hired Jeanette Lee to come out and do something for the group. And you know who Jeanette Lee is? The Black Widow. You know who Jeanette Lee is?
Oh, that's the pool player.
Pool player. Yes. Yeah. So she came out and they had an extra time, and they were like, well, we'll let her play. So she brought her friend out, and another caddy, Tucker, and I went out on the loop. We did singles. We were getting double pay. Yeah. And she was terrible. She had rental clubs, and she just wanted. She had a free round, so they only played 9 holes. But she was super nice. She had her dog out there, and I remember the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life was Tucker on that loop. He's out there on the second green, and the dog is like this little like Chihuahua she keeps in her handbag, and it's running around the greens and stuff. And she's like, the dog's running around. Could you grab it? Tucker's got the dog under his arm. He's got the flag stick in the other hand. He's got clubs in his basket. He's holding the dog. He's down reading the putt. And I'm like, this is just legendary. And I got a picture of him doing that for Jeanette Lee, the Black Widow. Yeah, it was super fun. And they ended up playing like 6 holes, and they went in. It was beautiful. It was a dream loop. It was really fun. But yeah, you talk about interesting way to make your money. Made a fortune just playing pool, billiards.
I had a guy who made a fortune. He was the founder of Best Buy.
Founder of Best Buy.
His name was Dick Schultz.
Wow.
And I got to spend 3 days with him, and very, very happy to talk about how it started.
Yeah.
Where it went, where it is now. So he was big into music. He sold amplifiers and I think guitars in Minnesota. Up in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And he'd one store.
Was it branded Best Buy back then?
No.
Gotcha.
No. And then he opened another one. Next thing you know, I think, probably 25, 30 years later, they're in the New York Stock Exchange. He told me it was the happiest and saddest days of his life when Best Buy, now for those of you who don't know, Best Buy is the biggest electronics selling company in the world.
Oh, for sure. Biggest retailer, yeah.
Biggest retailer. And he said it was they built it up to so many thousands of stores. They go public. He said it was amazing because obviously...
Yeah, your net worth goes up exponentially.
Billions.
Yeah,
but he'd made it. Mm-hmm. But then he also said, up to that point, it was always customer first, employee, profit.
Yeah.
And he said then it just went profit, profit, profit.
Yeah. You lose control of your baby, your company.
And it was an interesting conversation to have with someone who talked politics, who talked economics, who described himself as being useless to the economy because he could only wear one pair of jeans, drive one car, live in one house. And he talked about how, middle, lower income families people are so important to the economy because they're the ones that spend money.
Yeah, for sure.
3 days with him.
That's
phenomenal.
Super interesting. I caddied for, and actually for many years now. I haven't seen him in a while, but he's a pastor. He's a pastor at a mega church with a lot of people, and it's an interesting way to make your money. I'm not one to judge, you know me, but but yeah, I mean, At what point is too much? Too much. I mean, you talk about private jets and bling bling and Ferraris and like if you watch that show Righteous Gemstones, have you ever seen that?
No.
Oh, it's so good. It was Danny McBride, Kenny Powers.
Yeah.
It's so good because it's kind of spot on for some of these guys. Like they're making their money off the church, tax-free money. Gotta love that tax-free income. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, but great dude, super good dude. Yeah, but does all right for himself as a pastor. That's a very interesting way to make your fortune.
Wheels up at 4, guys. Wheels up at 4.
Yeah, wheels up. Gotta love the wheels up guys.
When I was caddying in Aberdeen, I worked for David McClay Kidd.
Name's
Golf course designer.
Oh, yeah.
Architect, you call him.
Yeah.
Interesting. He was another guy that, what anger? Jeez.
Angry guy. Yeah.
Oh, he was so angry in the course. And I thought the way he was acting, I didn't realize who he was. I had no idea. And he had a fake American accent. And I could hear a twinge of Scottish in there. I went, are you a jock?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, how could you tell? And he'd been in America for 5 or 10 minutes, and all of a sudden he was talking like an American, giving get away with you, pal.
Get out of here.
And he went down that route. You'll tend to find these boys that work in the industry that they think that he was just the same as David Ledbetter. He's technical and just no ability, very poor.
Love those guys.
Can't honestly say I enjoyed time with him. His dad was in the group. He was cool.
Yeah.
Had been the superintendent at Glen Eagles for about 15 to 20 years, and he had some good stories, mostly about people dying in the course, to be honest.
Yeah, always a good topic. I talked about, actually, this one was somewhat recent, but I didn't even write this one down, but another interesting way to make
Not much of a writer, are you?
I am. I actually did a lot of stuff we're not going to get to, but this one was just like 6 months ago or so. I know I mentioned it on the podcast, but we got to 13 on the week course, and these people come out of the house, and they were like all over this one dude who was, he's an all right looking guy, but whatever. But they're coming up to him like he's some celebrity. I'm like, what's the deal with this guy? And he's on this reality TV show that is very popular on like Bravo or whatever the network is.
Bravo.
Yeah.
How many people watch Bravo?
Yeah, like every woman in the United States, including my wife. Well,
No
some
chance.
women don't. But anyways, so he's this guy, Austin, from this like Southern Comfort or whatever the show is, and like he's very well known. I'm like, that's what do you do for work? He's like, well, I'm just on this reality show. That's how he makes his money. Like, do you do anything? He's like, nope, just kind of hang out,
How about this one? When I was in Aberdeen again, I caddied for Jeff Lurie. He's the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, okay.
Interesting guy. He's obviously into American football, but his passion is movie making. So he's big into movies.
What kind of movies?
I'll never forget the conversation where he was talking to me about how he wanted to buy his son a Premier League football team.
Oh, it'd be a nice gift for Tommy. I mean, Tommy's worked real hard in school. He deserves a little football.
Yeah, it's his graduation present.
Yeah. He's worked so hard in the organization.
What was really interesting in that group was the director of one of my favourite movies, Castaway, until I realised that Tom Hanks was a total creep. But
is he?
Oh man, yeah, I'd go down the rabbit hole with that. It's
Seriously?
not good. Yeah, not good.
Gotcha.
Not good. But his the director of Castaway was called, I think he was Robert Zemeckis or something. Right. And so I'm talking with Lurie about everything bar golf. I remember he said he had a bad knee, so we were driving a cart around. I'm doing a single off a cart, and
sounds right up your alley.
He's zero interest in golf. I says, "What is your thing?" And he said, "Oh, I love movies." I went, "All right." So I used to be massive into movies, so I'm giving him my top 10, and I throw in Castaway, and he said, "Oh," I said, "Funny that." He said, "See that guy over there?" He says, "Robert's produced and directed that."
That's pretty crazy.
So I end up hanging out with him for about half an hour after and talking about Castaway. So
he's like your he's like your Theo Epstein.
No. We didn't go to a hotel and share a room, Mike. So he says, "What do you think?" I says, "Well, it's really interesting." I said, "I love the end of the movie." I said, and when he delivers the package that he held on to for years, and then he is at the crossroads, and I said, it's a metaphor of and physical. He's there in person, but he's also at the crossroads of his life.
Yeah.
He says, "Oh, very, very clever." I went, "Thank you."
Did you cry when you lost Wilson at sea?
No. Now, if you want to go down the rabbit hole with Wilson and that red hand on it, then you'll start going down. Except
take your word for
it. he then told me, he said, "Guess what was in the package?" I went, "I have no idea what was in the package." He said it was a satellite telephone.
What do you mean? Like they never.
So remember, he holds onto that one package, and then he goes back and he delivers it to the woman.
But the woman doesn't open it. You don't find out. He's
correct.
He
said
they
had a scene where she opened it to show it, and then they decided not to.
Oh,
and just let that be ambiguous. But that's
funny.
That was the story all along.
Oh, man.
And I remember driving home that night just buzzing.
Yeah,
I was
a little
impressed.
insider knowledge. Yeah, that's pretty good. Caddy for these two guys again. What do you do for work? And they say, actually, we're crime scene cleanup people.
Oh,
they started a business cleaning up crime scenes. Kill it. Quite literally.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's stuff you don't think about. Like, these cops come in and they take their evidence and whatnot, but they don't clean up the scene after. You need somebody to get in there and clean all the blood off the. I mean, it's crazy stuff to clean up, and they said it takes time and they use crazy chemicals, and they make a fortune. Like that. I mean. You talk about tenants and apartments and people dying and families having to pay for these companies to come in. They kill it. There's no lack of work. Lack of work.
I was trying to grab some, tomato sauce out the top shelf of the fridge yesterday. And, the big carton of cream.
Yeah.
It dropped from the top shelf and fell on the ground.
Boy.
And it it's a carton. So it burst. And it went all up me. It went all up everywhere. When you say that about death, or someone gets shot,
oh jeez,
blood goes everywhere. Like when the cream was in places that I didn't think. I'm like, how did that possibly get there?
And you're talking about like stuff that sometimes after the cops get in there and do all you're talking days or weeks after. Like they have to come in and clean up all that stuff.
Go around with the UV, etc.
Oh jeez, yeah. And then they got to get it cleaned up because there could be a new tenant moving in shortly after.
I think a lot of these people maybe just fall into the jobs.
Yeah, they see a need for it in the market and then they can exploit it.
My wife reminded me of a guy I carried for. See, she knew what this episode was meant to be.
Uh-huh.
This guy, his job was to go around opening people's packages from Amazon to make sure it was the right stuff.
What do you mean?
They would tell him what they wanted. He would then order it on Amazon, then go to their house, open the packages, and then maybe leave it in the dining room table, so they didn't have to deal with opening the packages or ordering it.
That's how lazy our people in this country have become. They have to hire somebody to open up their package.
Rich people.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess if I had that kind of money, I'd be I don't want to open the box and put it in the recycling.
Well, Ride the Pet guy, if you ever ask him how his business started, he used to work at the golf course, and then people would say, "Hey, can you take care?" Yeah. Hey, that kid looks somewhat trustworthy. Here, I'm heading out of town.
They were looking at Rye when they said that?
And that's exactly how his business started, was somebody says, "Here, can you come and stay at the house?" So he would go and stay at the house, he'd get paid. And then he's like, "Hey, this is not a bad idea." And then work makes around. Money,
yeah.
So, but how do you get into cleaning up crime scenes?
Good question. Yeah. They didn't really divulge how they got into the business. They just knew there was a need for it, and they grew the business, and the business was good.
I once caddied for one of the guys who started Snapchat.
Snapchat. That's a big one.
There you go.
Yeah.
That was, zero chat, nothing. Garbage.
Yeah, I had that actually yesterday. Actually, the guy I had yesterday was an investor in Roblox. You know Roblox?
Mm-mm.
It's like a huge game that a lot of kids play online.
Okay.
And a lot of these guys have a lot of money and then invest in it, and they take ownership stake in it and took off. Like he invested a bunch of money, took off, and just that's how you make your fortune. You have money to begin with. You see an opportunity for something like that to grow. Put a bunch of money into it, and all of a sudden you own a piece of it. Yeah,
I'll tell you, talking about investing, one of the times I was caddying for the Donald, I distinctively remember telling him that Turnberry was up for sale.
Ooh,
and he ended up buying it.
You think you planted the seed for him there?
I know that he said to me, because he'd asked me where I was from, and I told him that I was, grew up at Turnberry, because I actually remember meeting him in 1996. He did the baller move where he flew in a helicopter.
Sounds
and back then
right.
there was no range as such. It was just a big open piece of field that you could go and hit your own balls and pick them up. Unless you were him, who you went to the pro shop, right? And he bought 4 dozen, 6 dozen. Can't remember exactly the number. Maybe it was 8 dozen.
Ballatas.
96.
Yeah.
Professional 100 tour ballatas. They were £4 a ball. He went out to there, hit them,
done,
and left them. I went and walked to the first tee. So I'd mentioned that. Oh, I'm at Turnberry, and he went, oh yeah. The director of golf always said to me that he would sell. He would let me know when that place is for sale. I was like, well, I think you could call him right now. He's no longer there, different people, but I think they want to sell. And next thing, 6 months later, my dad was telling me, oh yeah, he's buying Turnberry. So
and he never hit you up to thank you for letting him know about the sale?
Never called me to say thanks, Big G.
I caddied actually somewhat recently for this real bright guy. He went to Yale as a young man.
Oh, Yale.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I turned him down.
You did. Actually, you did turn him down. That's funny you say that because you did. Because he went to Yale and he was a really big student. He's from Boston, from the Boston area.
Oh, yeah, Boston.
And he's a very astute mind for the game of baseball. And he went into the game and he actually became the youngest general manager in all of baseball for the Boston Red Sox. Very interesting way to make money. GM for a baseball team, young man, Theo Epstein. Great guy. Had to throw you in there, Theo. Love
That's
you.
classic, right? Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, we've already gone over our time allocation. We don't have enough. Well, I'll write down another list of interesting jobs.
That was only like 6 of my million, so I got some more.
Your million, you've got a few more. We do have a few questions and a couple of shout-outs, so we'll take a quick break and then crack on with that. I guess there are benefits to listening to your own podcast, Mike. Huge benefits.
I like to listen just to make sure the editing has gone well and you haven't screwed up too bad, but you do a pretty good job.
155 episodes previous to this. If you are new to the podcast, feel free to go back to the old catalogue and have a listen. And if you are not already, follow us on the social media platforms. Now, you can also listen to the podcast on YouTube. You won't see anything, you'll just see the thumbnail, but there are some people who...
Are we doing... We got to do that the Spotify video.
I know.
Should we do it for this one?
Well, you get time, we'll do it after.
Okay.
If you get any questions or comments, send them in. You can email us podcast@glorifieddonkey.com. Otherwise, you can actually, at the top of your notes on this episode, send the boys a text. So you can send a message in that way as well. And if you really like what we're doing, buy us a beer, go to the website, and follow the link or at the top of the Twitter. Right. First question here, Mike.
Okay.
Do either of you boys have a desire to go and caddy on tour? And that's from Trevor Will, someone, and he's in Christchurch in New Zealand.
Yes and no. I would for the right player, but I'm not looking to ever go out on the Corn Ferry Tour, grind it out, and bring a guy up to the PGA Tour. If the right bag fell my way and there was an opportunity, I would consider it. It's tough with a wife and a child, though. I don't know if I could do life on the road. I could certainly for the right kind of money I could, but yeah, I have no desire to. I'm happy where I'm at, unless the right offer came along.
You'd have to get paid a fortune, wouldn't you?
You would. I mean, we do pretty well here. You'd have to get.
I think it's more comfort though. You get used to your lifestyle and your daily routine.
I like living here on the Monterey Peninsula. It's nice.
I don't have any. I did it, and now and granted, I think if you're a top player, the buzz must be incredible. Actually, not like anyone's going to call me anyway. It's highly unlikely. Yeah, because you need to be in the game to
correct.
You need to get the type of call that would make me budge. So no.
The buzz, you've had a taste of it. I had a big taste of it on the PGA Tour. In the one event I caddied for a pro, it's like he was tied second with 3 holes to go. The buzz was real, and it was intense. And I was like, oh man, I like this feeling. But yeah, it wears off, and it's like, is it really worth it unless you have somebody that can get in that type of position frequently? No,
the type of player that you're gonna. Someone like us is going to get from a player is not going to be in the circle of
100%.
Anything that's going to
100%
really push the needle. But you can never.
But Scotty, if Ted's not doing a good job, call me.
Yeah, that would be tremendous, wouldn't it?
Oh man.
Yeah. So there you go. Thank you for your question. Next one. Listening to the podcast, it sounds that you guys either have a blast or it's awful. What's the ratio of good to bad loops? And what do you do to amuse yourself on a boring one? And that's from Frankie. He is in Ripon, in North Yorkshire.
North Yorkshire?
Yorkshire. North Yorkshire.
We get asked this question so frequently by the people that we caddy for. Like, you wouldn't believe, Frankie. It happened today. It's like, and invariably the question is, what percentage of the guys you caddy for are dicks? I mean, and the answer is very low percentage. Yeah, we get sticks in the mud, boring people that you just get nothing out of. But boring loops, they're a handful of them for sure. But I have fun. I'd say 70% of the time I'm out there. More often than not, I'm out there having fun. I try to find some way to have fun on the loop.
Mm-hmm. I'd go 90-10 because of the number I do and who I work for.
90% are good and fun.
Yeah. Like I think about
excited the last
3 weeks to go. Alone.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you because I told my wife this the other day because I was talking about some caddies that I see them on the phone. We're all guilty of it, right? We're all looking at
some caddies are unbelievable.
And when your player's asking you to read a putt and you're looking at your phone on the green, there is, unless you're looking up a rule or you're taking scores on an app or something, there's no reason for you to be looking on that.
Yeah,
it's just unacceptable.
It's a terrible look. It's like the worst.
And I said to her, you'll be able to tell when I'm having fun and when I'm not because of how often you'll hear from me on a loop.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're engaged, you ain't hearing from me more than once. I might text, we're on 16. I'll be done on the road. So that's a good test of how we are engaged or not.
For sure.
And I would say I'm certainly 80 to 90% of the time I am very happy to go. I mean, sometimes you pinch yourself, like the boys we had from Southern California.
Oh. So the one guy in the group that we had from that group from Southern California that everybody was like, he was in your group the last day. What did you think of him? He was never my group. It was a 3-day job and he was never in my group.
I quite liked him, but I tell you, there was some stuff that that you just unforgivable really. So, for me it was fine, but there was some stuff, which we'll talk about after when I turn off on record.
Yeah, gotcha.
But I was doing that look, just and having so much fun, and you pinch yourself
for sure. I told my wife before we got married, I said,
what you're going to be doing.
I said, if we're going to get married, I just want you to know I am not moving away from here. This is where I live. This is where I'm going to live. This is what I'm going to do until I retire. So.
I know that just so people know, I know Zabbo very well, and if a better offer came along, he'd be on it.
I'm open to offers. Where do you want me to move? How much?
How do you amuse yourself on a boring loop? Just count the holes down.
Yeah.
Check the stock prices.
Play Candy Crush.
You'll probably be checking scores of sports that you'd no interest in. You're just mailing it in,
sending Gordon videos.
Yeah, exactly.
We send each other a lot of like funny stuff on our loops.
That's
sometimes.
A good point.
Send you stuff like other. I actually did send a bunch of caddies on their phones. I have good pictures. I'm just staring at their phones. It's pretty funny.
Go. The next question: as caddies, are there other caddies that you do not want to work with, avoid, or just outright refuse to work with? And that's from Mary Belsey. She's in San Diego. Well, Mary, yes, 100%.
Great question, Mary.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Great question. Yes.
Don't want to work with? Yes.
Yes.
Avoid? Yes. And outright refuse? 100%.
Never. I've never outright refused to work with somebody. But
I'll tell some of the managers, I'm like, no chance. There's one guy in particular, no chance I'm working with him.
There's one guy that I would do that to, and I've never done it, and I had to work with him yesterday. It was horrendous.
Yeah.
And it might be the same guy we're thinking of. Is he a course caddy?
No.
No. Okay.
But no, there's certain things you can do. When you do a lot of request work, you don't tend to have to ever really worry about working with people out with your group. I love working with a whole different group of guys. I love working with the new guys because
some of them, yeah.
Yeah, well, you can, if they're malleable, you can tell them, hey, don't do that, do this. I love the guys that will ask you questions, ask for advice. That's what I would have done when I was younger.
For sure.
And then it's interesting to get to know people. I enjoy talking to people. What did you do before this? Blah, blah, blah. I had a great conversation with a lad in the barn this morning who had just been caddying this winter in Cabot lemon trees, somewhere.
Cabot Cliffs? Yeah.
No, it was in Florida. Same company. But we had a great chat. So, but no, I would, there's one or two refuse to, certainly people you'd avoid.
Yes.
I know two lads who are one apart in their seniority and in 10 years have never worked together.
They won't do it.
They both avoid each other.
Yes.
So you can drop back. It's very easy. No, put me in the next group.
Yeah. There's a few people that really dislike me.
I was going to say, I dare say there's people that do it to us.
Yeah, that don't want to work with me. And then, but I've never seen anybody refuse to work. And then when I do work with that person, you can tell they're really uncomfortable working with me. Like, it's awkward, and I don't care. I'm going to do my job and do it right. So screw you.
I just think that's incredible.
Yeah.
Zabbo's a target and he's back. Unreal.
Whatever.
No, I don't get it.
You know, when you're in a position, I wouldn't even say of authority, but when you sit on it's just people don't like you for whatever reason. They think you make bad decisions.
I don't like you, but I at least have reasons. You know what I mean? I get lost for several reasons.
You have data to back it up.
Next question. I started playing golf 5 years ago. Good for you. Worst decision of your life.
Yeah. What's wrong with you?
Handicap started at 26.4. Oh, would you stop with this? 26 point.
That's a good start. That's a good start.
You're 26. Why do I have to go into 0.4?
Because it's a 0.4.
And now I'm down to a 16.3. You're good for you're 16. You started at 26. Now you're at 16.
Pretty
good. I am thinking of entering a real local tournament. However, I'm very nervous. Any advice? And that's from a Jorge with a J. Jorge G. Salinas, California, just along the road. Well, Jorge, advice?
Well, that 16 in that first tournament is probably going to bump back up to a 26. I mean, the nerves hit you. I mean, you can't avoid that, though. The best way to do it is dip your toes in the water. Get out there and play. The question is, are you a legitimate 16? You know, are you entering that tournament with a legitimate handicap? Do you hold things out? Do you play by the rules? Because, you know, don't get too stuck on score, especially your first round out there, because it may not be good. You might surprise yourself, though. It might be great. Do it. Do it. Get out there and play.
My advice would be, if you're going to carry your own bag, make sure it's nice and light. Only take what you need for those 18 holes. If you're taking a cart, same thing. Yeah. Be prepared.
Be prepared.
Take a rule book. Know the first 5 or 6. Know what the rule is on out of bounds, white stake. Know what the rule is on a yellow and a red stake.
Yes.
Know the rules on who's away first, and keep an eye on your competitors. Make sure that you know the basics of etiquette, because maybe if you're playing with your mates, what you think's maybe you're playing music, and competitors don't want that. Be courteous to the other guys, but keep an eye on them as well. Yesterday, 2 days ago, I'm trying to remember, and somebody said to me, "I've got to keep an eye on him.
Make sure they're not cheating."
Cheating.
Yeah.
So, but 100%, go and do it. That's once you have the pencil in your hand, once you have a scorecard in your hand, that is when you'll find out if you are a 26.4 or a 16.3. And when you're out there, make sure and tell your fellow competitors about the Real Life Caddy podcast. Last question, Mike. And this kind of almost pertains a little bit to Jorge's question: how important do you boys feel sportsmanship is in golf? It's from a Jerry Fritz in Wilmington. You know where that is? Wilmington,
North Carolina,
Delaware.
Well, there's a Wilmington, I think, in North Carolina too, right?
I'm not sure, but this one's in Delaware. So,
Okay.
How important do you boys feel sportsmanship is in golf? Huge.
Yeah. It's big. You should, it's funny to see how unsportsmanlike people can be in the game. But yeah, I think it is important.
So the first example I can give you is in the last 6 months I played in a pool tournament at my club.
Okay.
First round against this guy, he's older than me. And I hold the black and the white spun up to the top of the table and it was going kind of close. I knew it wasn't going to go in a pocket.
Yeah.
And he willed it in. He goes, go on, get in.
Rooting against your opponent. Yeah.
And I looked at him in pure disgust.
Yeah.
Like, this guy is dead to me now. I have zero interest in ever talking to him ever again. Because as much as I like a bit of banter, like when you play with me, I'm going to try and get under your skin and have a laugh. But it's a laugh.
Yeah.
When it's serious, you read the opposition and you're like, okay, well, this guy really wants to make this part. But I remember being at school years ago. I was about 15 years old, and we played with a guy I was pals with at school. And one of the other lads hit a putt, and it was too much pace, goes past the hole, and this boy goes, get legs.
Yeah.
And
I've seen that a handful of times when it's been serious.
Well, I laughed and I looked thinking he was joking. He wasn't joking, he was serious.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay. And that for me, that was 25 years ago now, minimum. And I still, that's my lasting thought of that guy. So I hate it. Now, in the pool tournament, I played against a doubles tournament about, 2 months ago, and I played against this guy's son. So this is like story one is the white ball. Story two is school friend. Story three is story one son.
Okay.
Okay.
Apple doesn't fall far, I'm taking it.
Oh, ridiculous. Now, dad comes to watch.
Of course he does.
So I hole a black. I clear up, hole a black, white goes in. And the lad goes, yes! And I nearly walked out. Because I'm like, really? I don't want to, I don't even want to share the table with someone that is going to be happy. Now, when you're playing golf, Mike, and we're playing our rematch, whenever this is,
and
I hole one for
down.
4, and you have a putt for a
four
half,
down with 3 to go, and you
done. Lip out, and I'll quietly inside go, you wee beauty, love that. So
of course,
but I'm not going to go ha ha.
Yeah.
So that's the way you want to win. Shocking. So, in my opinion, sportsmanship is absolutely huge.
And 100%. If you're playing match play, you're going to be rooting against the guy. You want him to shank it. You want him to hit a bad shot. You want him to miss the 4-footer. But you're not going to verbalize that and root against him. Etiquette is important. Sportsmanship's important.
I don't even know if I want you to shank it. I would just want you to shank it to have a laugh. Right? But I wouldn't want somebody. I want to win playing well.
Correct.
And beat them.
For sure.
When merit, you know what I mean? I want a good match. I don't want to go out and wipe the
but
floor with someone.
You're hoping they miss putts, but you're not.
I'm hoping I make putts. I'm hoping I make more putts.
Sure.
I'm hoping I make my birdie putt and you make your bogey putt.
Sportsmanship's important.
You ever come up against that?
Oh yeah. I've seen it. I've seen it a lot. I've been around
the par 3 course.
I've been around the tournament deal for a long time with different players that I've caddied for, and I've seen some awful behavior out of people I've caddied for. I mean, just abhorrent behavior, and we'll leave it at that.
Great.
Sportsmanship's important.
Abhorrent. Love that. Well, Mike, we're at time. We need to wrap things up.
Okay.
I think we'll do another episode in a few months of the strange jobs.
Yeah, there's more to talk about. I forgot to mention that. Maybe I'll give him a shout out in the podcast. Yeah, we'll shout out. So this guy, I wouldn't say an important one, but what a way to make money. I caddy for this guy, Troy. It's actually Troy Bumgardner's guy, Stu Lamb. And he made a lot of money in whatever business he was, but his brother, and people will know this name, is Ben Lamb. Do you know who Ben Lamb is? He's a poker player. He's a very well-known poker player. He's got like 20 million in career earnings on like the World Series of Poker. Makes all his money playing poker. Great family. The Lamb family, great family. Have a lot of fun caddying for them over the years.
Lovely.
Great player.
Any shout-outs this week, Mike?
Well, I just shouted out Ben Lamb and his brother Stu, but yeah, I got to shout out Zach, Doug, Landon, Brian. Got to shout out Martin, Angel, and Robin.
Okay. I just want to shout out Chad, Mark, and all the boys from Cronies.
Got to shout out our Cronies crew.
If you're down in Southern California in the Ventura County, there are 5 locations of Cronies.
Mm-hmm.
Great beer, mediocre food. That was the feedback from the boys.
Correct. Mediocre food, great beer, great company. You get to hang out with Clay and Mark and Chad. Chad's legendary.
Had a great group of lads. Chad was outstanding. He organized, did some great work with the tournament there. Mike, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good to be back.
I understand you're going to win a wee holiday.
I am. Couple weeks. We'll see you in a while.
Yeah. Enjoy your holiday.
I will.
Don't work too hard.
Oh, lots of naps in my future.
And we'll see you in about a month's time.
Sounds good.
Listeners, thanks for your time as always. Any feedback, podcast@glorifieddonkey.com. Go back, enjoy the podcast, feel free to share it. Until the next time though, enjoy your golf, but more importantly,
keep it humble.